Okay, hi everyone. Another example where we can practice our recursion or writing recursive functions is to the Fibonacci sequence, which is just a twist on it. It's a more generalized version of it, and this is the Tribonacci sequence. Okay, so in the Tribonacci sequence, any number, not 0, 1, 2, but starting with term 3, any number is the sum of the previous 3 numbers, okay? And the first 3 numbers are, well, some people say 0, 0, 1, but others say 0, 1, 1. For our sake, for simplicity, let's just go with the first 3 numbers being 0, 1, 1. And now we're going to look at how we can work on the Tribonacci sequence. So I've started the function definition for you. Again, it takes just one parameter similar to Fibonacci, n. It is a similar sequence. The only difference is that the first 3 numbers are 0, 1, and 1 of the sequence. And we're going to find the next number by finding the sum of the previous 3 numbers. So Tn would be T of n minus 1 plus T of n minus 2 plus T of n minus 3. Okay, so let's think about the five steps that I've talked about. First is, what is the parameter? Here we know it is n, which is the term for which you're finding the Tribonacci number. Then we know we need to have a base case. Now in this case, the base case can be n is 0, n is 1, or n is 2, right? All 3, because we have to return 0 if n is 0, and we have to return 1 if n is 1 or n is 2. Then we need to find our recursive case, which, similar to Fibonacci, is the sum of calling Tribonacci on n minus 1, n minus 2, and n minus 3. Similar to Fibonacci, we're going to use an if statement to check for our condition, to check the current value against the base case. And our final step is the subproblems. And in order to get the result, so to find Tn, what do we need to do? We need to add the calls to the previous 3 Tribonacci functions. Okay, pause the video, take a minute, and try to write this function now. Okay, I hope you tried it out. I'm going to try and write it now. So first, we want to write our if, right? We want to write our base case. And in our base case, we're going to try, well, I'm going to actually split it up into 2. So first, if n is 0. So if n is 0, then we return 0. Else, elif, if n is 1, or what's the other or? N is 2 in this case, because remember, we have 3 numbers that we already know the terms for. So if n is 1 or n is 2, we basically return 1. And finally, you can have an else just for clarity, but you don't have to. Remember, we can return the call to the function for n minus 1. Then we make another call to the function for n minus 2. This is our recursive case. And we make a third call to the function for n minus 3. And remember your step 5. What are you going to do with these different calls? In this case, we're going to add the 3 calls for us to get the nth number in the Tribonacci sequence. Okay. Let's try to run this code now. I'm going to call it. Let's look at it. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe let's try to call Tribonacci of 5. Run the code, and you'll see that it returns 7. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th term is 7. All right, so go back to this question. Look at the 5 steps that we've talked about. The if condition with the base case, the recursive case, and then we talked about checking the current value, n, which is your parameter that you're taking into the function. And finally, we need to process the results of our calls and return a result with it, okay? In this case, we're going to return the sum of the previous 3 terms in the Tribonacci sequence. All right, I hope this was useful, and I hope you continue to practice, okay? Talk to you soon.